Perfect Turd Podcast, episode 161, Lamar. Bring him back dead.
Bring us back dead, because
Or no, bring us back to life after watching the movie, Lamar.
Last week we had Firenado. This time we have Bring Them Back Dead from Uncork'd. We like Uncork'd, shout out to them. But this is a movie about criminals chasing down other criminals in the woods.
Well, it's a good old-fashioned heist gone wrong.
Sure.
Well, let's dive right into it with our first category. What did you think of the story?
Okay. You told it was, a heist goes wrong. Some double crosses happen.
That always happens.
No honor among thieves. No honor among thieves. One of the guys, he tries to take the money and run. And they chase after him in the woods. And then the guy that hired everybody, his daughter gets involved. Then they're in the woods. They're in the woods some more. Yeah, that's pretty. Anything you want to add, Joe? Anything you want to add?
Well, every time he gets to where he has to go, and then another person double crosses him, but then other people realize that the boss's daughter is double crossing them and her dad, but then a guy comes to rescue everyone, but then he gets double crossed by someone else, only to find out that the other guy is being double crossed by like the police, and this, I don't know.
Do you have a chart? I wish I had a chart, because we need to do all this. My wall is blank enough. I could probably write on there. But yeah, it's a lot like it's script spaghetti. Everything just kind of just tangles up in each other, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, it's stuff thrown all over.
Yeah, just things happen rather than, things kind of blend together in a story beat. That's the problem. But what do we rate the story, Joe?
I'll give it a half point. They had big dreams. They didn't land, but they had big dreams.
I'm gonna have to give this one a 0. Okay. I think there were parts where if they did it a little bit better, this would have been good, but that didn't happen.
Yeah. So, no. Well, there were a lot of characters in the movie. What did we think of the characters?
Well, we have a B-movie, veteran, Gary Daniels. He's the British older guy. He's, this is what did he say? Like, this is his lost job. That's my terrible British accent. Then you have, the wild card guy. Then you have the dangerous woman. Then you have the black man who is almost dead the whole movie.
The whole movie. He does come out on top at the end, Lamar.
He does. But that's part of the problem. Things just kind of happen. It's just, he was there, so bring him back. Then we have the head honcho that hired everybody. And then we have Daniel Baldwin.
Yeah.
Who's just a guy that was going to help Gary Daniels.
And they played in a band together, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
That was just a little character development.
That's character development, Joe. We played in a band together, so
I'll give it a half point for characters. There were characters, and they were different from one another, and they did stuff.
I'm going to give it a half a point because acting is going to be later on.
Our next category, Lamar. This is a heist movie. How do we rate the scale of this heist? And I would even say, how do we rate this against other heist-type scenes?
Do we really want to do that? Because there's so many problems, I feel like. Okay, when you think of a heist, like you think of really intricate planning, and it's kind of like, everybody has their role, that kind of stuff. They all have to dress up. This was kind of like, you felt like they were like, hey, you want to rob a bank? Cool. All right. There was no we're going to get together. This is your job. This is your job. Things just kind of happen. How it was shot was kind of weird too. It was really closed in, just with where they shot, but just how they had the camera. You didn't have space of
Well, I think that was just a budget thing. They probably had a very simple location and they couldn't show it, so they just framed what they had there.
It was just real classic. It was just,
I thought that they were really trying very hard to emulate the opening scene to The Dark Knight with the banter between the guys in the masks and kind of like the music and some of the other things going on. I was like, this was like, once again, when people have high hopes, but they weren't able to hit them.
A for effort, as they would say.
Well, what are we giving it for Heist then?
I have to give it a 0. Like it's
Yeah,
just,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. It was just like, hey man, you got those potato sacks? Want to make those a mask and rob a bank?
Yeah.
Cool.
The heist part was maybe the worst part of the whole movie, honestly.
Well, go ahead. I have so much to say about
Well,
acting
we
in
move
this.
on. No, there
Yeah,
was some action in this movie. How do we rate the action?
the action. Okay, shout out to Gary Daniels. He's 59 and he's still doing jump kicks
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So that part I applaud.
there was some gun play. There were some arrows, crossbows, but it
Yeah.
was mostly the fist fighting that caught my attention. Not the greatest fight scenes, but at least they were there. They did
Yes.
load this up with action. There was action.
Yes.
I'll give them a 1 point for action. You know what?
Really?
Yeah, it's not the greatest action, but it was action. So
I give him a half a point. They could have did a little bit more. Like,
the action that was there was like a lifeline to me compared to the rest of the movie, so it made it seem better.
Yes.
Well, Lamar, the final category. What do we think of the acting in this movie?
Well, great acting is just when you yell for no apparent reason in a scene. It's just like, oh God, Jesus. It's one of those things where it's kind of like there's not that buildup of like trying to intimidate people, just people just yell and
Yeah,
everything like that. So to me, that was funny. Like the
yeah.
one funny thing in the bank heist scene is when one person gets shot, he's just like,
Well, that's where I wanted to talk about in this movie was the acting when people get shot. Every
oh
time anyone
man.
ever got shot, there was always this kind of weird, like, oh, like a weird jump back, like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
like, like
yes.
when they were filming it, they're like, okay, you're gonna get shot now, so just go, and they would do like a weird. That shit made me laugh because it happened
Yes.
a few times. So,
And you brought this up. Accents. What is the woman's name? I can't remember her name.
in the movie, her name was Zarina. She was like the dangerous Russian spy type woman.
Femme Fatale.
The femme fatale, good one. Yes. I have to admit, and I apologize to to the actress. As I was watching the movie, I was like, is she putting on that accent, or is she just acting is not her strong suit?
She should have just had quips.
She's
That's just why you have an arrow or
she
something.
is
I
a
don't know.
Ukrainian actress, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also I thought that the boss, and he's in a lot of stuff because I've seen him
Yes.
with Scott Adkins and other movies. I thought he was putting on kind of an accent too, some kind of maybe a southern accent or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
For acting, I'm gonna give it a half point because the spots that were really bad were funny to me, so it was a source of entertainment. So,
That's why I give it a 1
oh,
because it
okay,
made me laugh.
all right.
Yeah, that was the funniest part because it's like when you brought up the squib thing, I didn't think about that because they were like, ugh, like it was overdone, and then like when they were just yelling at each other, I'm just like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? So.
Well, Lamar, we've tallied the score, and this movie gets a 2.25 out of 5.
A couple of little things they could have done to make it a little
I
bit better.
think there's nothing great about it. That's not awful, but it's not good. It's just kind of somewhere in no man's land, honestly.
Middle of the road,
Yeah.
just type of thing. Yeah, that's what it is.
Or
That's the
just
problem.
not on the road, just lost in the woods somewhere. We
Yeah.
can't find it. We didn't know that it was missing. So,
No, and nobody cared.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that wrap this up then.
Yes, dudes.
Bring him back dead. Peace.
The deuces.